Now it's time for the Voice for the Industry podcast.
Well, Carissa, I got to tell you, having Margaret Garcia with Grit on the podcast was just an amazing time. She's got a really incredible story. Started out as a CSR and has built a company that is widely respected and recognized in the entire industry. Plus, she's just a fun person to talk to and a great person to know.
Yeah, it's always interesting. We have so many women on here that are thriving in the industry, and to hear her talk about AI, which is our favorite topic, it was a great conversation.
It was. And she really knows what she's doing, and her company is providing great service to a lot of pest control and lawn care companies out there.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Voice for the Industry podcast. I'm so excited. We have Margaret Garcia, the founder of Grit PPO. And I've known Margaret for a long time. She does amazing stuff for the industry. Margaret, welcome. It's great to have you.
Great to be here. Hi, Raymond.
Hi. How you doing? All right. So we're going to get started. I'm going to read your bio, and then we'll jump in and just start talking about some fun stuff. All right?
Sounds good.
So here we go. Margaret Garcia is the founder of Grit PPO, the first female-owned outsourced contact center built for the pest control, wildlife, and tree and lawn industries. After spending years learning the industry at a top 40 pest control company in the Northeast, she launched Grit PPO in 2017 to help teams overwhelmed by call volume and missed opportunities. Today, Grit PPO supports companies nationwide with live call handling for overflow and after-hours coverage, along with AI human hybrid support service across phone, live chat, and email. Margaret is also known for her live high-impact training workshops that help customer service teams, inside sales reps, and new hires master her approach to customer experience and consultative sale. That's a tough word. Her career has been focused on empowering the people behind the phones, and proving that exceptional customer service is a true competitive advantage. That's a good bio. Did you write that?
I did. That's that consultative word that gets everybody every time.
Yeah, I should have practiced, but I didn't. Well, welcome again. It's really good to have you here. It really is.
It's good to see you too.
Always glad to see you at the trade shows and around the world here and there. So let's just get started. So you're really like the first female-owned company, outsourcing company dedicated to the industry. Really the first one, regardless whether it's female or owned, but just female-owned is even more impressive. Kind of, how'd you get here? Tell us your origin story. How did Grit happen and all those things?
My origin story. Well, like you mentioned, I worked for a very big, successful pest control company. And so like a lot of people in the industry, in that situation, I wore many hats in the building. And where we were at, we cross-pollinated everything. So one minute I would be handling the sales team, retention, marketing, all of that. And I loved it all. I mean, quite frankly, I couldn't, not mind my business anyway. So I was just involved in every aspect of the organization. But I loved it all because it fed my fire, until it didn't. So I actually left there after I had my fifth child, my wild child, the little one that's going to give me gray. And when I left, I panicked because, you fall in love with this industry and you don't want to leave it. And I didn't want to go work for another company and potentially have some of the same experiences that I had, where I was, because, we know a lot of pest control companies on the back end behind the scenes are kind of built the same way. And, I realized that while I was there, a lot of the times I could run my job remotely from my BlackBerry at the time. Do you remember those?
I do. Yeah, the little tiny keyboard.
Yeah. Yep. Those were like the best ever. And so I just remember thinking at one point, like, why work for one pest control company when I could work for them all? It was like a pinky in the brain moment. That was the spark. And while I was at the organization that I worked for, I was also very lucky to be a part of the Copasan Marketing Committee, which was just basically a room, for anybody that doesn't know, a room full of brilliant pest control owners and their teams and their marketing people from all over the country. And we would brainstorm really great creative ways to make the phone ring. And then in the same breath, we would complain that if the phone did ring, we didn't have the people or sometimes the expertise to answer it. So, starting an outsourced call center for the industry, I think, wasn't intentional. I think it was definitely something that was inevitable. I wanted to build an office team that I wish every pest control company in that room had a trained, specialized, knowledgeable team that didn't have key jinglers. So I would joke all the time. And when I was a CSR in a cubicle, I had a key jingler, Jackie, behind me at 4:59. Her keys were jingling. She was ready to go. Didn't matter how many calls were holding in the queue. 5 o'clock, she was out. And so, deeper to that, I wanted to give a resource back to the industry and to managers like me who had to choose between that, like, that classic, like, wrong person, wrong seat, or stretching your
Right.
team so thin that they were just like one phone call, one irate customer, away from quitting. And so that's kind of really where, Grit was born out of.
So I did not know you have 5 children. I have 5 children. Of course, I didn't have to give birth to any of them, so I win. I win on that one. But so let me get this straight. You have your 5th child, and then you decide to go start a business.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, it's funny because even being in this industry for so many years, I've always just been surrounded by a family owned and operated company. So working and children were always something. As a CSR, again, 20 years ago, Saturdays, we all had to work Saturdays, but we bring our kids to work on Saturdays, gave them a coloring book and was like, go sit over there. So, working and having kids was always maybe not the best juggle, but just two things that went hand in hand. I think being female owned, just quite frankly helps because women have been running households, crisis, and chaos since forever.
A lot better than men, by the way. Yeah.
So it was easy to kind of step into. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, Copasan marketing, that takes me back. When I think about it, I think of Mahi from can't think of the company, McLeod, right? Was she with McLeod?
All of the good old days.
Yeah, that's fun old days. Anyway, all right. Well, that's an amazing story. So you went out, you did it, and you built a successful company. So first of all, what does PPO stand for in Grit PPO?
Yeah, so it's pest process outsourcing. It was kind of that play on to the BPO.
Okay, I've never knew what that meant, so I'm glad you told me. So now that we know what it stands for, what does Grit do? Tell us what do you guys do? I know we said you're an outsourcing company, but give us a day in the life. If we watched a video of Grit at work, what would you guys do?
We're that outsourcing, so we do everything from, answering the phones and, overflow, after hours, weekend support. I mean, we're much bigger than that as well. We're doing, training for inside sales teams, customer service, and new hires. We have a great new training program for our new hires that we call it kind of like a companion experience, where you're just taking somebody through, their first 5 days and teaching them the ins and outs of the industry, some best practices and basic software movements. So we're really kind of a really kind of cohesive, environment to be able to either give you the support that you need or train your team to be just like us.
Okay, so you actually train pest control company employees to be CSRs, like you guys are CSRs.
Yep.
Are you logging in? Are you, like, for some customers, you actually logging into their CRM and somebody calls in and you're putting the call back in and doing it like real time right in their system as well?
Yeah, so we painfully do not work with any APIs or integrations. So my team, I call them, CRM, agnostic. They know them all. So they are in PestPack, Gorilla Desk, Serve Suite, BrioStack, Evolve, Field Routes, FieldWorks, whatever it is, to be able to give you that holistic experience of, we're not just kind of giving you a to-do list at the end of the day. I had that, right, when I worked at the company we outsourced calls at night, and we would come in the morning and call a customer back, and it wasn't what was said in the message, or it wasn't handled all the way. And we still had to just iron out so much of the wrinkles that we really just felt the best way to give you that extra support was log right in and handle it in your environment.
And you're absolutely right about using outsourcing and stuff, because the next day you come in and you got to basically touch everything that was touched after hours. So to your point, that makes a lot of sense. Now that's exciting. I actually thought of doing something like that many years ago with Pest. When I was worked for McCall, and we had PestPack, and I was like, hey, why don't we just answer the phone for other people? But I didn't have the inspiration or the drive you do, and you made it work, and I probably wouldn't have. So that's great.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. No, not easy. No, it's a lot of work. So what are some of the challenges that pest control companies face that you guys are helping them with?
I think that, pest control companies, I mean, obviously, they don't have busy seasons. They have, battle seasons. So obviously we're helping with your call volume spikes. The office team, can't handle that seasonal swing in call volume. Maybe your, inside sales is slipping through the cracks, and that can be for different reasons. It could be because, there's so much call volume, or because it's also because there's so much call volume that they're rushing, on the phone and not really taking the time to take the call all the way through, to be able to sell more ongoing than one time. You just kind of turn into that order taking mode because you're trying to get through all of it. You got technicians waiting, for support, waiting for somebody to help them with an account. Or you've got new hires that, take 90 days to learn and to get, comfortable and confident. So we're just kind of helping, with that. We're not, outsourcing isn't about trying to replace anyone. It's about just plugging the holes where companies, feel like they're bleeding. And sometimes that can be with their time and their team, or that can be revenue, either way. So we're kind of helping with those challenges.
Yeah, and I would think for the like smaller companies too, that'd be a great resource because they don't have to go out and hire. I mean, you got a person starting a pest control company; they need someone in the office. They don't necessarily have the skill set to hire or see somebody and train them and all that. So why not use Grit and let you guys take care of it for them? That I think that'd be a great thing for the smaller companies as well. But yeah, I can definitely see the benefit of like you said, plugging the holes. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, either you don't have the time, sometimes you just don't have the patience. We've had people come to us and say, listen, I just hired and it didn't work out and I don't have the patience to do it again. We have companies that for some, we're their everything. They've got,
Right.
no brick and mortar. It's just us and the technicians in the field and, probably wherever they store their materials and stuff. And we have a lot where we're their overflow. And that's also, it's a great challenge to kind of help with, because when the calls are handled, I kind of consider it triage. I always say, like, when we're triaging for you, when calls are being handled, when your appointments are being booked, when you feel confident in that the customers are being taken care of, then everything just kind of stabilizes. And
Right.
then there's also bigger opportunities, because how many times do you have, I was in this role where I was just so good at my job, and I was great, that there were opportunities for advancement, but you needed me on the phones. So it's like you couldn't kind of take people and repurpose them and pivot them because of what? Because of, the triage of needing people to answer the phone. So there's also that opportunity to take your team and have them just focus on other things while we're helping with that.
That makes sense. I was just talking to one of your customers, Greg from Pest Solutions in Virginia the other day, and
Mm-hmm.
he spoke the world of you guys. He thinks you guys are fantastic, just so you know.
Appreciate
And that's what he was saying. Like, I've got my people, but then Margaret does a great job of covering when we can't. So that's pretty
Yep.
powerful. Um, well, we have to talk a little bit about AI just because it's 2025, almost 2026, and everybody talks about AI. I know we're doing a lot of stuff with AI. I understand you're doing some stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
tell us how you're incorporating AI into your solution and kind of where you see it going.
Yeah, we've layered in an AI human hybrid support service. Our virtual CSR, her name's Dottie. Everybody's got their name, right, for their rep. I'm waiting for the male version, because I think there's Dottie, right? There's Margot, so we'll see who comes
Yeah,
up.
we have Margot,
Yeah.
named after you, by the way.
We'll see where it goes, but we've got Dottie, and so Dottie handles the simple stuff lightning fast. And the second a customer wants that personal touch, or if it's outside of the scope of what Dottie can handle, then that's where a live agent can kind of pick up the call where Dottie leaves off. And I think that's super important. Bringing AI into the mix is us giving our partners access to innovation, right, that they might not be able to build on their own without the massive cost, and quite frankly the dedicated time it needs for the development of something like this. So we're trying to absorb that heavy lift on the build and the tech stack. So our AI is just fully knowledgeable on all things pest control, on everything. Basically, we treat our AI assistant Dottie, her, right? We
Right.
give her that entity. We train her the same way we train our agents. And so she's getting all of that knowledge on pest control, on call handling, on sales, rebuttals, everything.
That's fantastic. Well, and see that what we're doing with our AI agents is a little different than what everybody else is doing. Is we actually make them give them extensions in the phone system,
Mm-hmm.
so they have human CSRs and they have AI CSRs. To your
Yeah.
point, that they can manage, they can monitor calls, they can see.
Yeah.
Because one thing we're seeing, a lot of these, like 70% of bots fail because they're out there by themselves, and the pest control company using them starts hearing all these complaints because they don't know
Yeah.
what's going on, right? So they end up canceling it. But so we believe, like, make it easy for somebody to get away from the AI agent if
Make
they
it
want
easy
to,
for them to get
right?
away. It's
Get away.
funny
That's
because
it. Yeah.
customers will it's important in how you kind of present it, right? It's really important in how you present it to your customers. I think that it has to be an option right now because it's so new. So people have to opt into it. So like for us, it's an option. It's no different than when you call into your phone company, and they say like you're the next caller, or you
Right.
can wait and the system will call you back. So AI is an option, or you can be assisted by Dottie. And don't worry if it's outside, you can still get, if it's outside
Yep.
of the scope of what she can help you with, you can still get to another team member, and it's optional. And so you're trending where you're seeing more and more people are opting into it and letting it help. But the funny part is that people, when you're listening to it, right, when you're the one training it, you're listening to people opt into it, and they're like, "Is this AI? Is it? I want to speak to a live person." They hang up, and it's like, she could have transferred you.
Right. That's the whole point.
Why did
Yeah.
you hang up?
Yeah,
One,
that's
you
funny.
opted in. Two, you're asking if she's real, and then you hang up because you find out, that you're frustrated with just the fact that it's AI. You
Right.
don't, so we don't like change, right? That's what people are, and so.
Right.
I think the hardest part is that sometimes companies are utilizing it in a way that they're just forcing your customers into it.
Right.
And listen, if you didn't send me an announcement and I just call into you for the first time and now Dottie's helping me, I might be a little bit annoyed that I didn't know that this was going to
That's
change.
right. Right. And
So,
then if
we're
you don't
figuring-
want Dottie to help you and you can't get away from him, and I say this all the time, you're screaming representative and hitting your phone. That's
Yeah.
where people get really frustrated.
Yeah,
That's
right.
what
Like the
yeah.
IVR path, they know
Right.
hit zero, right?
Right. Pound zero, pound zero. Yeah, that's basic. Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, the AI is kind of a really fancy auto attendant, right? I mean, it really is, and
Yeah.
and that's the secret. It can do the transferring. We know that 60 to 70% of all calls to pest control companies are billing and scheduling. So the
Right,
more,
which is a simplistic call scenario.
very simple, yeah, very simple. You say things in such a fancy way. Simplistic call scenario. I love it. I was going to say it's just a
I'm on the
basic
phone for a
function.
living.
Yeah,
Words for brain food here in my environment.
You're better with words than I am. I admit it. But I would just say basic skill. But yeah, I mean, and let your humans do the highly impactful things, and let your AI do the stuff that's not that hard to do, that needs to get done a lot. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But and just in general, I mean, being somebody that's in an industry where you're kind of driving AI forward, what do you kind of see like down the road? What do you kind of anticipate seeing as far as AI developing for the pest control industry, customer service, or just in general?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just going to just keep getting better as far as the technology, right? If you adopted, even like AI and these, even these virtual assistant things, even 6 months ago, right? You're probably completely unhappy with it. There you've got the latency issues, which like latency is right, the pauses, and if the dog barks in the background or you cough, right, it's resetting itself, and that's that frustrating part for people's experience. But I think that as you see, just in the past couple months, technology has improved that so much. And so I think that the AI is just going to keep getting better and better, where you're not going to have the issues of frustration. And then we're going to also focus on it as far as what I mentioned before is like the customer experience. How does this fit into the customer experience? Now that I've, ironed out all the wrinkles, where does this fit best? And obviously, there's going to be things that it's going to do better than a human person could have done. And I'm sure that there's data entry things that we're going to get better at with connecting and integrations, and that'll get stronger. Because right now, I think even with other integrations, it's not quite like, right. I buy software things that I think integrate, but they don't really integrate the way that I want them, right? I'm like, that's not kind of what I meant. So I think those things are going to get even better, and it'll just give a CSRs or customer service or companies, capacity to just get the information faster and just handle things quicker. So I think that for home services, I think that you're always going to need live people, because as a home service provider, consumers always want somebody to yell at when things go wrong. So there's always going to be hit the zero. Maybe we'll have a press 3 for complaints. I mean,
there you go. Design an AI agent that's just there to take abusive calls, right?
Right. So if they're not happy with that, they still might want a live person, but it's just going to make our jobs faster, easier, better, right? I mean, there's so much stuff that AI is doing for me now. I again, I do training, and I can't tell you how many times I just sit back in awe, even now, that I would, want to create quizzes for training content, and the time it would take me to just think of questions. And then I would think of questions, and I try to make learning fun. So I would try to put funny answers, and I would be sitting here trying to think about some ways to kind of make these questions funny. And then one day this little this little like, glow button popped up on my, on my platform, and I hit the button and boom, there was 10 questions. I'm still honestly in awe of that, because I still remember
amazing
what it felt like to sit there for an hour to do a 10-question quiz.
Yeah, no, I made a PowerPoint with it. I don't use it much, but it made a pretty impressive, like 10 slide PowerPoint just by my.
You're like, yeah, that's
yeah.
what I would have said.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like you said, it's only going to get better. I mean, I think we all can see the day where there's going to be a certain number of human employees and a certain number of AI employees, and there's just going to be a balance. And it's
that
coming.
goes back to being able to take those people that were really great at something, right, and had passion or had a special skill set, and just being able to focus, right, and I think that's the difference. It's going to give you the ability to repurpose, your team in ways that you couldn't before, because we're triaging. You said it right, like 80% is, just simplistic scenarios of customer just booking appointments or just needing something that's just very kind of basic and simple, and AI can handle that. So now you can take people and have them allocated to the 20%, but have them really good at, what they're doing.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that most companies, I think you'll see that there's a core number of employees that kind of stick around, and then you have the employees that you're constantly replacing.
Rotating.
Rotating. Well, AI can get rid of the rotation, and then you keep your core people, and you can really get a lot, really have a powerful team that's not constantly having to rejuvenate itself, I guess. Is a good
Yeah,
way
we used to sit all the time and say this job would be great if it wasn't for the customers that keep calling, right?
right. Would be nice to get paid to not have to take phone calls. That'd be great. So that's a great conversation. So again, we started off. You started a female-owned business in an industry that's pretty male-dominated. Do you have any advice or any pointers for somebody else out there that's trying to start another a female-owned business in this industry or any male-dominated industry? Any pointers or just advice?
Yeah. I get asked this question a lot about, how does it feel to be, in this male dominated industry? And I think that, honestly, now when I look around today, it really doesn't feel that way anymore. Right. Maybe, 17 years ago it did. But now when I walk into rooms, I mean, it's filled with, brilliant women who are running operations, running sales, marketing, the entire company. I mean, there's so many, now that I think the shift has kind of already started. So, I mean, I think the advice that I would give to, to women or men otherwise is what we're talking about now with even AI. It's just being willing to pivot, don't force yourself or your business into old structures. And I think that's what we kind of do, right? That's just the way that we've always done things. It's, bring what you bring, but stay adaptable. This industry is going through, right now with AI, like I said, customers don't love change, but innovation is what the industry has always been about.
Right.
So we went from, buggies and to trucks, and we're going to go from phones to phone trees to AI, right? Press 1, press 2. Now it's just somebody navigating with a nice friendly voice. It's all inevitable. So I think that my advice would be to as a leader, just guide your customers through this change kind of confidently. If you can pivot, if you can evolve and help them evolve with you, then you're going to thrive in any industry, in any business. And I think that's where companies are afraid right now. They're afraid to expose their consumers to AI and things like that. And you've got to be the change.
Yeah, you're right. And this industry definitely changes. I remember when I first started working for Orkin Lawn Care long time ago, we worked in a pest control office because we had a little closet for our office, and everybody smoked in the office. So they went out and did monthly pest control. It was with the B&G sprayer. And now it's like, we hardly even go in the house anymore, right? It's all outside and quarterly and everything else. But no,
and even when the termite systems changed, and it went from you had to go out and replace things to always active. I was a CSR on that phone. We were trying to explain to customers we don't need to come out. It's it's working. I promise you, you don't need 3 visits. And we stood strong on that. This to me is no different than that.
Yeah, you're right. What monthly, quarterly, annually? Yeah, it's
but if you're not coming out, it's not working.
Right. You're absolutely right. It's the companies that embrace the change, and I think the biggest thing that we're seeing is that there's just a lot of people just don't know. Like a lot of pest control companies and owners, they know AI is out there, they know it's really helpful, but they don't know exactly like what to do with it and how it can help them. And so I think it's great that you guys have kind of created this model where you're just saying, hey, we've got it over here. We're doing it's going to help. You don't have to worry too much about it. But that's what I find is a lot of people like, I want to use AI, but how? What's the best way to use it? How can it help me? So there's a lot of noise out there, but I think it'll settle out. And I think you guys are doing a fantastic job of using it the right way.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're an owner in a crawl space trying to answer your phone, then I think that's
That's problematic, especially when a puppy licks you in the ear that you didn't know was down there, which has happened.
they'll figure
Anyway.
out how to use it.
All right, well, I mean, last topic is anything you want to talk about? Any subject? If there's anything we haven't covered, you want to cover? I mean, it's all open mic for you.
No, I mean, I think this is great. I think having an opportunity to, talk about what's great in the industry, what's changing, what challenges outsourcing solves is great. I think that, you know, outsourcing in general, even if you're thinking about, doing it with an AI, which is the buzzword right now, is still you leveraging, right, a resource. And I think that hopefully even outsourcing as a company like myself, where you're outsourcing to a team, is also something that kind of stays relevant and continues to get a better, I don't want to say reputation, right? But there's a lot in the industry where people feel like if they outsource calls, they're going to lose their personal touch, they're going to lose that piece of their company, and maybe that's the sentiment also behind the AI. But I think that the two kind of go hand in hand. I think that I hear a lot of outsourcing companies that are similar to me kind of talk about being, an extension of your team. And I think it's a trendy kind of catchphrase. And I think that for Grit, for us, that's something that we're also trying to make sure that we're redefining for, companies that we work with, because extensions to me are things that you glue on or you clip on. It's kind of like the vacuum in the arm. You're trying to get to something that you can't reach, and it's still kind of detachable and optional, but it's still outside the core. So for Grit, we don't operate with that kind of distance, and we make sure that we have ongoing pulse meetings. We make sure that it doesn't feel outsourced. That's like the other piece of advice I would give to owners if you are using an outsourced, company, because we're obviously not the only ones in that space, is making sure that you're working closely with that team so that it's not, it doesn't feel outsourced. The only difference between us and the people sitting in your office is geography, and geography can't be heard on the phone to a customer, right? They hear competence, they hear warmth, they hear somebody who knows your pricing, your policies, your personality. And so for us, like, you've truly hit a partnership when a customer calls back and asks to speak to somebody from my team.
Yeah.
And that's just good customer service, right? A customer remembers and they go, "Thank you, Raymond," at the end of your call. You're like, wow, they were really listening to me. They were really kind of connected. So that's when I feel like, the partners that we work with, they know that our team is their team. And I would hope that, everybody's embracing just additional resources. How can we all get the job done? How can we collaborate? And I think that, outsourcing has kind of had a bad rap, and hopefully, we're kind of changing that.
Right. No, well, I mean, and what you just said makes so much sense, and you're absolutely right. It's when the outsourcing is just disconnected. Oh, we're just forwarding calls to them, right? Whereas you guys are like, no, we're like you said, we're just the same part of your company. We just sit in a different place. That's all. And and now a lot of people work remotely anyway. So what's the real big difference?
That changed it 100%.
Right.
When you realized that you didn't have to limit yourself to the four walls that people could sit in, it really kind of helped open up your ideas that you could have talent sitting in other places. I mean, that was probably a game changer for most companies struggling to kind of fill seats, right? That you thought that somebody had to be in the office to be productive. But it really is. There's outsourcing out there that can feel outsourced. But I think it's really the working relationship that changes it. So if you're not meeting with your outsourced team on an ongoing basis, like, we don't want to meet with you at the end of the month to hear about a phone call that I took about 2 weeks ago that was wrong. I want to be like the CSR in your office. If I did something wrong, what would you do? You'd call up and you'd go, "Margaret, can you pull up this account?" As soon as you found it. Right. So we want that real time engagement. I think that's going to be the difference. So like you said, awesome. The geography of where someone sits really kind of changed, that you can have other resources in other places, but the relationship's still going to be what it is. Those people that are, like you mentioned, having team members from your team, they also need a different kind of management, right? I think it's really hard to manage even remotely, because you sit in front of a monitor and you don't have the same sometimes cultural feeling or dedication to the company when it's just your screen. So it's stuff like this that helps you feel that culture. So it's just a different way of kind of managing and maintaining that relationship. Same thing.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think, I'm somebody that believes that there's a value to people interacting like as human beings together.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes it's not feasible to be in the same place, but you can still interact together, even remotely. Whereas, like you said, a lot of times they're just kind of out there being left alone. And that's where you run into that disconnected feeling. That makes a lot of sense. Well, this is, excuse me, this has been great. This has been fantastic. I'm really excited. And I think now we have some fun questions we can ask and talk about.
Oh
So we're going
gosh,
to bring.
maybe like
No,
how many
they're
pigeons can I
they're
hold?
easy.
What was the last time I was listening to your how many pigeons can you hold? And
And when I forget the best, my favorite, Chris, are you coming back? My favorite one was, would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 50 duck-sized horses? That was my favorite one.
you should have the write-in of everybody else who gets to, submit their answers, not just the person that you're.
We'll have to do like a live, like a game show one day. So here's the first one, and I'll go first since I already know the question. So the first one is, if you could name your favorite kitchen appliance, what would you name it and why?
Oh, you'd give it a name? You want to give it an entity?
Yeah, so mine would be, I have this Ninja brand, and it's like an air fryer, oven, microwave. It does everything, and I basically don't use anything else. Not a microwave. It does everything but microwave. I don't even use my oven or stove anymore. So I actually call it my Nasty Ninja. That's its nickname because it gets everything done so fast. So there's mine.
That's hard. I'm not a
That is
cooker.
hard.
5 kids, believe it or not. I mean, I used to be, but I'm not. I don't have the patience to cook and then have it sit cold, and then who doesn't want to eat and have 5 different requests for different things. But I'm a good microwave person. I would probably name her Betsy. Good old Betsy.
Reliable old Betsy.
Reliable old Betsy. Yep.
I'm busy. Throw something. Take it out of the freezer. Throw it in the microwave. Betsy's got you covered.
Yep, exactly.
I like that one. Carissa.
This is hard. I would probably say my coffee machine, mine espresso. So I would go something off that, like Nettie the Nespresso. That's an important item in our house for both me and my husband.
That's
so
the question is, would you talk to it?
I do. I talk to mine. Yeah.
Already you do.
Yeah. Well, mine's cool because it has a top and a bottom, and it can actually sync to, like, you put in 2 things and it controls it automatically get done at the same time. That's
cool.
Anyway, it's a plug. All right, next one. Okay, so what food is normally prepared, served hot, that you really enjoy eating cold?
I'm probably the worst at this. I eat everything cold. I let it sit until it gets cold. I'm usually the last one finishing my meal because everyone wolfs it down in front of me.
That's funny. Well, I think there's a couple easy ones. Pizza's really good cold.
Pizza's really good cold.
Fried chicken.
I mean, I don't know if I'm gross, but mashed potatoes are good cold too.
I don't know if I can go along with cold mashed potatoes.
I eat everything cold. I eat
a lot of stuff cold. I eat like Chef Boyardee, like beefaroni and all that. When I do eat it, not very often anymore. I eat that cold. Fried chicken, I love cold. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I was gonna say like chicken cutlets. Like I like those cold.
Oh, the cold pizza is a weird one. I mean, I know everyone does it.
But you like mashed potatoes cold.
I'm the oddball. I would do anything cold, or maybe lukewarm. I just learned a really good tip for this. Somebody told me, I shall remain nameless because it was at an industry event. Somebody told me that because I tend to be the person that goes in and orders pizza and says, can you just a little bit warm? You gotta give the hand signal. You gotta go a little bit warm, not too hot. And same thing with my coffee. So somebody told me that when you go into like a Starbucks, you can ask for kids temp. So that's the polite way of saying, that you don't want it too hot. See? But take it one step further because, again, words are brain food to me. She also told me that the baristas know it as 130 degrees. So now picture yourself standing at the Starbucks line as at the cash register, and you're asking for your mocha choco, I don't know what. And then at the end of this, you add, can I have it 130 degrees? Is the rest of the line not going to look at you like,
Yeah.
So you can say kids temp or 130 degrees. Take it, take your choice.
That's fine. I know somebody that used to work at a Starbucks, and she would talk about customers would come in and order all this stuff, and I wanted 154 degrees and all this stuff, and it was
I didn't know this. This is a whole underground thing. It's like the hidden menu.
There is one. All right, last question. Okay, which you have to be a season. Which season would you be and why?
Oh, I like to be fall, winter, but I gotta pick one. I'd like to be fall because you can be hot, you can wear short sleeves, but you can always put on a sweater if you're cold. That's a good season.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say too, because you get both. You get the warm and the cool. Yeah.
See, I don't know. I like the sun. I like summer. I like spring, not summer. It's too hot where I live in summer. But fall is like, that's daylight savings time. It's dark at 6 o'clock. I need a little more sunlight, so I go spring. Just because I'm bubbly and effervescent like spring. No, anyway, no, I like the sunlight, I think. All right. Well, that's it. That's our question. So
that was great. That was great.
Fun.
That was not too mind numbing. I would
There
not
you
know
go.
who to wrestle in that situation with those ducks. I would not know how many pigeons I could hold, but you guys went easy on me, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, we didn't do last week. We did. Well, we didn't actually do it. But would you rather have hair of spaghetti or sweat mayonnaise?
Glad we didn't go with that.
Neither one of those are good options. So, well, Margaret, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. I'm really happy that you joined us today. And anybody out there watching this, if you're looking to utilize a service like Grit, please check it out. Everybody I talk to that uses Grit thinks they're fantastic. And how could they not be with somebody like Margaret running the show? So, thank you again.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Margaret.
Everybody. Well, have a good day. Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.